Albert Einstein once said that darkness is the absence of light. And I am convinced that depression is the absence of hope and despair. And I've often found this to be so true, not only for myself, but for everybody that I've worked with. And, it's when you fall into that pit of despair and the darkness that comes into your life through depression, usually through some sort of trauma, that it is just debilitating. There were times where I couldn't get out of bed, and the only reason I could get out of bed was to try and go and get a drink. And a lot of us suffer from that in our addictions. Our worlds get so small, and it's so sad. I look back on my life sometimes and I go, what the hell was I thinking? But you know what? I didn't really have much of a choice in it, but I chose a path to go down. Now, I am convinced that there are two different types of depression. There is clinical depression, which means a chemical imbalance in your brain, which you have no control over. And then there's a spiritual depression, which you do have control over, because it's all about perspective. That darkness is the absence of hope, that things are not going to get better. I'm always going to be like this. And it's painful. It's painful for people to watch. And I know for a fact that a lot of my friends, used to try and encourage me to come out to dinner parties or whatever, but I couldn't go, because A, I didn't want them to know how much I was drinking. B, I did not want my best friend, which was alcohol, the substance that I used the most, to be taken away from me, because we'd been together for so long. But alcohol took me from being an ugly duckling into a beautiful swan, and then turned me back into an even uglier swan. And that descent is a slow, gradual descent into hell. And, climbing out of it, the road, we've got to go uphill because we've gone down so far. But there is hope, and it all depends upon your perception an outlook on life. Now, after I got sober, I realized I used to have this thing about self-pity. I was like a black hole for self-pity. I had a woman say to me one time, David, you've had a tragic life, with your mother dying when you were a month old, and your grandfather who raised me dying when I was 17, and then your wife dying when you were 36. Tragic. And I was just sucking this thing in because I thought this woman really understood me. Oh boy, you'd drink too if you had my life. But you know what? It's all about perception. When I got sober and I took a look at an honest evaluation of my life, I realized that if I was to tell everybody in the world, now we're talking large numbers, not just America, the world, okay, that about my life and all the things that I'd done, I was convinced that probably 90 to 90, maybe 99% of the world might trade my life for their life for mine. So what was I so depressed and looking at my life as though it was terrible? And that's the perception that we get, and it's self-inflicted. That's the worst part about it. It's self-inflicted, and it's time, as they say, to drop the shovel, stop digging the hole of depression and your outlook on life being dark and miserable, and take an action. Get a shovel and drop the shovel and start building a ladder to the life that you want to create. And it's going to be tough. Let me tell you, it's going to be tough. And I learned in my studies as, becoming an addiction counselor and substance abuse and everything, and my 20 years of working with people with substance abuse, is that, the Prozac, we go always for the quick fix, right? And so, Prozac is one of the many drugs that they give to people, if you go to your psychiatrist or whatever. And Prozac actually produces dopamine, which is the feel-good hormone, right? But a 30-minute brisk walk produces the exact same amount of dopamine as a Prozac. So I know it's hard. Trust me, I've done it. To get out of bed, to even think about going for a walk, putting one step in front of the other. But if you want to change, you've got to take action. If you can't accept it, change it. If you can't change it, accept it, as they say. And, that's the bottom line. You have the power. You just need the impetus. Just start. And I guarantee you, you will change your life for the better. And that's about all I got for right now. I hope that it sheds some light on this topic of spiritual depression and the darkness that invades our life. And if you're suffering and you're listening to this, I feel your pain. I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. There was a time, and I'm not even, a big fan of the royal family, but a year after my wife died, Princess Diane died in a car crash in Paris. And I went home, and I could not. I was actually remodeling my house at the time, and I had to tell the workers to go home because I wanted to go to bed and just lie there. I couldn't get out of bed. I was crying my eyes out, thinking, what a waste, what another life taken. But, thank God that I actually was able to find help and start, as I say, building a ladder and climbing out. And you can do it too. You can, trust me. You just need to take an action. And I know it's tough. I feel your pain. I feel your loneliness, and I have empathy for you, more than you could understand. So that's the end of this video. I hope it's helped you in some way. And I will be obviously making more videos here on YouTube and going along. And I hope to see you on your journey. And I hope to be there with you to help you along with your journey. Whatever God or faith you have may be with you, and, you're special. You are special, and you were created for something. You've got to ask yourself, what was I, or what do I want to be? And you can do it. You can do it. So, goodbye for now. Bye.